Hi, this is Declan Shalvey, former artist of Moon Knight, and you're listening to Into the Night, the Moon Knight podcast.
Yes, welcome back, Loony listeners. You are listening to Into the Night, the Moon Knight podcast. This is episode 231, and you are with your High Priest of Khonshu, Ray. Hello. And if you look up into the night sky, you will notice it is a waning crescent. Now, that means our segment has been decreed as a LUNAR-PICK Classic Run review, and tonight we'll be looking at Moon Knight Volume 1, Issue 20. And joining me on this journey that involves gas tanks, oil tankers, spitting on the faces, and women in bikinis. It is Loony Toonz Tate. Noel, welcome back.
Thank you. Thank you for having your low priest of Khonshu back.
Always a pleasure. Always a pleasure. And as always, I'd just like to thank our patroonies as well. Each and every one of you are highly valued. Thank you so much for supporting the show. So a big thanks to Daniel, Drew, Justin, Derek.
Kyle, Wayne, Jordan, Josh, James, Anthony, and Michael.
Yes, excellent. You know, Noel, you can get a nice cadence going on with those names. You know, you finally...
You really can. You got it memorized, don't you?
No, well... yeah, I do. No, it's the prompt sheet.
I feel like I have it memorized.
And on the back of that as well, big thank you to two sponsor patroonies themselves. Drew Tombs, one of our newest patroonies. Drew produces some music as well as creates some as well. So you can find Drew on Tombs on SoundCloud and Lurk Music on Bandcamp, and Fringenite by Daniel Doing, another patroni, an original indie comic based on Erie, Pennsylvania's very own mysterious superhero. Daniel always doing great work there. He's still working away on many. He's got many stories to tell. So go check out his
comics.
Work. Yes. And finally, Dreamland Comics from Illinois, the superhero superstore. All your back issues, such as this one, issue 20, you can find there. Now, Noel, we're about to jump into this. Would you be so kind as to let the loonies know who put this book together?
We have got the writing duties by Doug, penciling by Bill, inker was Steve, colorist was Christy, letterer was John, editor was good old Dennis, and Ralph.
Excellent.
And if you don't know any of those last names, then you don't know comics.
I was about to say, that's a great way to sort the wheat from the chaff as well. If you don't know where their surnames are, then... No, seriously. Just
no, seriously.
Read it on the...
Yeah, everyone knows it's mentioned Sienkiewicz.
Yeah.
So it's good stuff.
Exactly. Released June.
And Ralph Macchio editing with Denny O'Neil, so that's cool too.
Yeah. I mean, we'll get into the discussion of the issue as well. I don't think much was held back. I don't know if they directed anything, so to speak, but their direction's always good. I mean, they're great editors. Released June,
absolutely,
1982, and also Noel as well. There's a fair few ways to read this. This is available in. So, where can loonies find this?
You could get a floppy like I have right now in my hands. It was direct to stores, so there's no comics code on it. That's why we get Moon Knight spitting in someone's face, I guess. So you can read it in floppy, digital, Marvel Unlimited, of course. It's in the Omnibus, Moon Knight Omnibus Volume 1, the Epic Collection Volume 2, Shadows of the Moon, and the Essential Collections Volume 2, which is not easy to find.
Not easy to find.
I almost bought it at a half price once, but it was so beat up I didn't want to pay were asking for it, and I should have done it.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair,
I guess I don't know comics.
I mean, but like it's been reprinted anyway in actually better stock and in color. So the essentials were always fun just to have that kind of newspapery kind of feel to it. But yeah, I mean,
I have a bunch of them. Like the Silver Surfer one is awesome.
Oh, nice.
Moon Knight would have been awesome because I mean, Silver Surfer, the great colors and stuff. But it still looks great in black and white because the Surfer's
cool.
Silver.
Yeah, exactly. Just thinking, what title would really be hindered by just being black and white? I don't know.
I don't know. I don't think there's
Thor?
a single one.
Maybe Thor would be hard to, because Thor's very
maybe,
Asgard.
but it's sometimes when you strip away the colors of something. I mean, I grew up reading a lot of black and white indies in the 80s, and sometimes not having color actually, I think, can make the storytelling a little smoother. There's less to sort of distract you. You can really just kind of see the pencils or the inks, I guess. So some of those Marvel ones that I have, the essentials, I really enjoy reading them because it's you can really, it's just sort of the penciler and inker doing really focused just on their work. Even though there's some great coloring, obviously, and stuff. It's just a cool, different take on comics we love.
Oh no, I totally agree as well. I mean, I've read the entire Spider-Woman Volume 1 in the Essential Collection. I've got both volumes, which is really cool. But then I think, as I mentioned just a bit off air, Noel, I just recently got starting to get the Spider-Woman comics, and I'm really enjoying it in color. You know, just a lot. I think.
Yeah, they're cool.
Yeah, I think I'd enjoy it,
especially if you get the original floppies. Like seeing like the dot matrix printing and stuff just looks on the newsprint. Yeah, I prefer reading things that way. Anyone who's listening to me on this show knows that it's my preferred way of reading comics. Is the newsprint.
Yes,
something about it.
I know
brings me back.
Justin the Owl. We did mention him last episode as well. He loves reading the floppies as well.
Yes, he loves them.
he loves and he rightly admits himself, like, you know, he will read a comic book to death with its beat up cover and stuff. It was just great. I think it's good. I mean, you can love your comics, and look, everyone can do what they want, how they collect it, how they want, of course. But yeah, there's nothing better than just kind of reading something and not being worried about tearing it or bending it or you know, just enjoying it. Just enjoy it.
Yeah, I've got a huge box of comics right behind me and I also have a 5-year-old in this house. That's like a ticking time bomb at any moment. Entire little container of chocolate pudding could go down on those things, and that's the end of those. But whatever, it's worth the risk, if you ask me.
Yeah, for sure.
Speaking of worth the risk, let's dive into the bare bones.
Yes, excellent. So this is bare bones, courtesy of Wiki. I'll just take this one quickly then, Noel. Is that alrighty.
Do it.
Moon Knight chases Arsenal back to Manhattan, where he has to stop the madman from setting off bombs around every access point to the island and holding it hostage. In the process, he's briefly captured and Arsenal is able to unmask Moon Knight, surprised and pleased to see it's his other nemesis, Marc Spector. Marlene, still undercover as one of Arsenal's 3 bodyguards, deals with the other 2 while Moon Knight duels with Arsenal, as bitcher about how he had his hands all over his woman as he is determined to stop the terrorist attack. In the end, Moon Knight defeats Arsenal, but before the authorities can take him in, he comes to in time to hit his detonator, but it only blows up the ship he's on, leaving Moon Knight's secret identity and everyone else safe. It's a bit of a... I mean, I'll just jump to it now. That was what I found was really funny. It was a very neat and clean way to end everything. You know, everyone that was on the boat died. You know, the bodyguards as well. They're all cleaned up. They don't have to worry about them anymore. But, Anyway, listeners, so what Noel and I will do now, or I should have mentioned this at the very beginning, but we will go through, first of all, actually your overall impressions, Noel, first, and then any points, what you picked up from this, and then we'll cap it off with a moon rating from our moon rating system. Now, Noel, you do have the opportunity to choose which one that you'll go for tonight, the vanilla rating or Connorshue's rating system.
You know, Connorshue's, of course.
Of course. Yeah.
Don't ask stupid questions, Raymond. Ramondo.
Absolutely. That's a given for you there. Connorshue's for Noel.
Yeah.
Now, Noel, yes.
Always mark me down for Connorshue's.
Overall impressions.
I think it was a good wrap up to this arc, and I'm glad. Sort of 3 and 4 issue arcs back then for comics in general weren't quite as common, so it was cool to have that and continuing on. But the artwork is fantastic. It's it's kind of late Sienkiewicz for Moon Knight, but something about a lot of sort of the close-ups or like mid tier, even like on this first splash page, are very Neil Adams.
Yeah.
It's almost kind of a throwback to when he was a little bit more Neil Adams. Maybe he was rushing this one in some ways, or maybe if not rushing, because there's some great detail, not as kind of creatively inspired as even some issues before this. There's a lot of thought bubbles for Moon Knight, and there's just some fat that really could have been cut out. It seems like it's padded quite a bit. I mean, there's the whole, what is it, like the 3rd page alone of him just of Moon Knight getting onto the ship, which is really funny also, the him wearing like the scuba gear.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know how that thing is going through his mask into his mouth, but whatever. It's just of him like it seems very old school. It's just like him explaining every little move that he's making to get into the ship. It's almost like in modern comics that would be maybe a panel or two, or even if they did. Actually, I was thinking about as I reread it again just before we got on the air. Even if this was wordless, it would be cool. Actually, even with all like this one page is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 panels. Even if that was all wordless, you know what he's doing. Just let Sienkiewicz show off and draw, because there's some cool panels there. But it seems almost very Stan Lee-ish. It's a jam pack, as like Moench put it, just could fill up every single little space he could with just. I don't know if it's supposed to sort of catch us up on what's been happening, but there's just a lot of. And then the next page with the. Whoever all these men in suits are. Who is it? The anti-terrorist task force or whatever. Yeah. Yeah, there's just an immense amount of paragraphs coming from there. But once we move past that, the comic moves pretty swiftly, and I start to really, really enjoy it, actually.
Yeah, I tend to agree as well. I mean, not that, having potentially dialogue-heavy issues of comics is an issue. I mean, it could be done quite well as well, and you don't tend to notice. But the fact is that I noticed.
Well, Moench does that.
Yeah,
sometimes,
he does. Yeah,
and it's great,
and it's fine.
I'm like, oh, it works really well.
Yeah, but I tended, similar to you, I tended to notice that there was a lot to read through here, and you weren't getting much from it. So yeah, a lot of it could be taken out. Look, the most I think that it could have been retained was, and I found it very interesting, was this whole description of Arsenal's plan. So Moench goes into detail to go how these oil tankers will essentially burn was it the island of Manhattan?
Yeah, basically killing, like, what is it, 97% death rate or something.
Yeah, but how, like, people can't flee it because the fires will kind of consume from without into within and all that stuff. So there was a lengthy description of that, which I found that was such a diabolical plan and such a cool way. But there was also, this other stuff, as you're saying, this anti-terrorist thing. I mean, there's a lot of talk there that could have really been cut down. Moon Knight is constant word bubbles. You don't need to to say too much of that. But yeah, so I did find that was
especially with his character. It's just like, I mean, I've obviously in modern comics you just don't really get any thought bubbles, but like Moon Knight is one that you think earlier on they would be like, it's so much more mysterious and cool if you just show the dude in action.
Yeah.
Like, cause it's so superfluous. All of that, like how he's breaking into the ship is like,
yeah,
really,
exactly.
You're really going to go through every single. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. 1982, I guess.
But then, as you say, later on, where you see Mooney in action, the dialogue drops off, which is fine, which is exactly, you don't need to have all that dialogue. But yeah, it seems that almost the first half of the issue, Doug has really kind of chucked in a whole lot, but then he's just kind of eased off a bit. But yeah, there are a couple of funny things here, Noel, I've got to point out. The first one, as you say...
There's a lot of them.
Yeah, there are actually a few of them. Number one was, as you say, Moon Knight in the scuba gear. That just had me laughing straight out. Now, I don't know if that's meant to be...
Me too.
Is that meant to be funny? Because...
I don't know. There's a great panel when he first shoved the things in his mouth. Yeah. It's just like... Oh, it's so funny.
It's so weird.
I have to think some thought bubbles instead of talking. So that's...
So weird, so weird that
the picture of Arsenal on the big screen. It's really
well,
the terrorist task unit is looking at this big.
Oh yeah.
Here's a photo of Arsenal himself that we found on the island.
Oh, God.
His costume bristles with weapons.
Bristles with weapons.
He's a one-man army.
Yeah, God. And we've been through this in the past issues. One-man army does not mean, you know, just because you have a belt full of grenades, you've got a gun, and you've got, like, I don't know what that stupid helmet is, but it is what it is.
It's Darth Vader helmet, and I think that's you were Justin.
Darth makes it look cool, not Arsenal, I have to say.
No.
The other funny thing I wanted to say, this other second funny thing is when Moon Knight gets struck in the face twice, from a kick from both bodyguards on either side of him. I thought that was...
That's my favorite panel in the entire comic book. That whole page is pretty great, though, too. But he's just like... It would have been a great, almost like, page turn reveal, you know? Because he's just like, Marlene, and then bam! But the look...
Jeez.
The sort of like... Bill Sienkiewicz rounded out the eyes a little bit, so he just looks like he's like, whoa. It's pretty great.
Seriously, broken face there. You're looking at, like, big kicks to both sides. And, like, it's not like he got kicked on one side. He got kicked on both in tandem, simultaneously. You might as well have your head crushed in a vice, I think. So that was pretty funny. If you turn over the page, Noel, and I just want to... the third one is when Moon Knight comes to and he's strapped down on that iron ball, whatever it is. And there's a very... what do you call it? It's a very unflattering shot of him. Bottom right hand.
When he's splayed out over the machine?
Yeah, but it's just looking right at his crotch.
There's a great butt shot later, too. I love when Bill draws, like, Moon Knight anatomy. It's great. Well, there's a panel right above that, too, where he's kind of coming to, and he puts sort of like the bubbles like that he's like dizzy or whatever, and he even says, dizzy, head so heavy. Where am I? It's very James Bond, though. It's great. It's like early James Bond film. Like, he's got him tied up, and he's going to explain his plan, and then Moon Knight's, you know, if I can only get this crescent dart in my hand, messed up. Oh, I messed up again. This is my last one.
Yes.
How will I do it? And he catches, our hero has won. It's great, though. But there's even some more funny ones, like when he pulls his mask off and it's like Spector. That panel is really funny to me. And like the one that gets the second one is Arsenal laying in bed with the women, and they're both just like, they're all three asleep, and Marlene's trying to sneak away, and you're like, what? Okay. So they just all had sex with this guy. He even has like a thing strapped to his leg. It's like, what is that thing? What was he using that for? I hope Marlene got at least a little taste of that. Oh gosh,
poor Marlene. The things she has to go through just to.
Oh yeah, that's just great. And there's just that great sexist moment later when he's just like, it would have been one thing if you tried to blow up the city, but you were kissing on my woman, dude.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, Mark, you own this woman who just whooped these assassin women's asses. So like it's a weird dichotomy of like some real kind of sexist BS, but then at the same time like Marlene doing when we like her best, when she's kicking ass,
yes,
and not just being the damsel in distress, which she really isn't. It's like, I mean, she's hoping for Marc to come up, but that's because she knows the whole plan comes together when he gets there.
Yes.
And so like the fights, like even though it's women fighting in bikinis, it still looks awesome. It's really great drawing.
Oh, it's great. I mean, it shows Marlene kicking ass as well. Like she
she leaps into action, and they're just like, what the hell? And she has some great funny lines too. Like she's got some quips and some one-liners of her own.
Yep.
While she's kicking these women's butts.
I just want to go back to what you were saying before, and I want to quote this, Noel, because we can't not quote this. "You've killed my friend and soiled my woman, madman." And how that's
soil, that really implies fluid or something. So
so that's really there you go. But make it as you.
There's another great panel on the page right before Marlene gets into it with them, of Moon Knight kind of leaning, holding his cape, but it's kind of ruined by a bunch of more thought bubbles in that whole panel. It's like the fourth panel down. I don't know what page it would be because they're not numbered on the floppy. But it's just like a really great kind of Neil Adams drawn kind of action shot of Moon Knight just getting ready to leap in there, and it's such a fantastic piece of art.
Is that this one? You done?
That's the one, yeah. And there's several paragraphs of thought bubbles going on. It's just like
the man has got a lot on his mind. That's
yeah, he sure does.
Also, as well,
many voices.
Also, as well, there's a point where Arsenal throws a grenade at Moon Knight, and it just dazes him. That kind of had me scratching my head. Maybe it was a
stun grenade.
Yeah, maybe it was a concussion or stun grenade. That's true. I mean, but look, if you were Arsenal and you had a chance to kill your enemy, wouldn't you'd just like throw a grenade at it?
You'd throw everything in the kitchen sink?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Anyway.
Whatever you got on you.
I mean, we're picking at these details here, but it still makes for a fun read.
It really is a pretty fun comic.
Yeah. And there is enough action towards the end, as we said, towards the end, especially with Marlene and Moon Knight as well. Again, if going back to funny little things, Noel, that last thing where Moon Knight spits on Arsenal's face there. What are your thoughts on that?
Well,
was that a bit surprising?
The guy was saying, it's just funny to me because I don't know. I thought it was kind of, I don't know if clever is the right word, but about, he's just, don't get emotionally involved. And, he's like, what does he actually say? But tell that to the emotion, and then he spits in his face.
He spits on an unconscious body of Arsenal. So,
which one of us wouldn't do that? That's what I'm saying. The little panel of him picking up Arsenal by the outfit, right? Just like 2 panels before that looks really funny though too, because it's like Arsenal. The coloring makes it look like he has white man skin, and it looks like he's just picking up somebody by the skin.
Oh, okay. They must have recolored it in. I've got the reproduction here.
Yeah, because in the floppy, it just kind of looks like a white dude's skin.
Oh, right.
He's picking up, and I was like, oh wait, that's his orange outfit, I guess.
Yeah, it's
But that whole thing is funny. But the thing I really like epilogues in comics, especially if they're just one page, and it was a kind of a cool way to wrap up the arc about he sends a note to Anna, and just Anna, Ben's work's finished, Spector, and it actually kind of makes a kind of goofy story arc, a fun but still goofy story arc, actually seem a little bit more serious.
Yeah,
and like it has some emotional weight to it now.
Yeah,
because we kind of forget that he was assassinated.
Yeah, which is kind of one of the things that kicks off this whole thing, and I think that did get lost along the way. Although you saw on this issue Moon Knight's rage at the soiling of Marlene, but also it's basically revenge for his friend Abramov. But I do feel that throughout the 4 parts, you do lose that sense of. Like, I'm just talking about themes here, because one of the themes is obviously the revenge. But I feel it's lost, but I agree, this last page, at least it does kind of close out that, there was an emotional tie that Moon Knight had with this.
Yeah.
It was a very... it was a weird one. Also, as well, with themes, we do get, albeit very short-lived, the reveal of Moon Knight's secret identity. So Arsenal does... I mean, back in the day as well, Noel, revealing secret identity was a massive, thing. So what usually would be such a big wow moment, I guess, now is a bit... We're all a bit desensitized to. But, yeah, what did you make of this? Albeit that Arsenal did die at the end, I guess.
I don't know. I didn't make much really of it, I guess. Maybe because I remember it from last time I read it, years ago. Yeah. But I was like, oh yeah, doesn't he tell? I just thought it was... My bigger thought kind of about it, it was like right in there, it's Marlene still calling him Steven. And so she's like, Steven, and then Arsenal's... Wait, isn't that Marc Spector?
Yeah.
I thought that was Marc Spector who I just revealed. Why does she keep calling him Steven? What is going on?
I know,
But there's no real... I think it's a bit of a missed opportunity, but that would have been maybe thinking ahead a little bit for Doug Moench. But
maybe, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, to me, upon rereading, I was like, oh yeah, that happened. It doesn't matter. He gets blown up anyway, so that's pretty funny.
Yeah.
It was a good kind of clean way to... it's kind of a... I don't know. It seems like something Doug Moench would do. That's maybe why it didn't surprise me. It seems like a... I mean, it's kind of a comics trope to have that happen, Like the bad guy just dies, and so the secret identity dies with them.
Yeah.
But Doug's good at kind of bringing in some of those tropes and just laying it out for us. I'm like, all right, cool.
Yeah. I mean, I think it was Stegloff as well. I mean, Mark's also worried that he's catching wind of it, but it's not really. It's a bit ambiguous there. But we know Arsenal definitely knows his secret identity. But
he says nothing, just that Spector and I are on a good team. He goes undercover work, and I'm the visible and upfront one, or whatever. And he's like,
yeah, exactly.
All right, there.
Yeah. Sorry, Streglov. Just because you never...
Streglov.
Not Steglov. Just because, when you read stuff and when you say it out loud, it's always different. So, yeah. So, apart from that, I mean, there's also just the references to the other runs, as we mentioned, issues 17 to 19, which makes up the first three parts of this. Ratings-wise, Noel, what would you give this? Out of 10.
I think I would give it the arc as a whole. I think I would give maybe around a 7.
Okay.
But this particular issue, I think I would do a Getting Small Moon, a 6. Actually, about a 6.5. About a 6.5, pretty much on par for the art. I think the art really, even though it seems like a bit of a regression, there's some really great panels and some great face work for the close up. There's a couple of really good close ups of Marlene where it seems like seems more of a character than she has before, just in the sort of the cartooning of her face.
Yeah.
Where it's just she looks like a real woman, sort of, opposed to just a hot chick or whatever. She kind of has character to her face, and so even though maybe he needed to make up for all the bikini shots by saying maybe I should make her look like a real woman or something. Yeah. Some of the goofiness and just the endless thought balloons bring it down. I think a half point from a 7, so it's a little less than par for the whole 4-issue arc, but it's cool, as David Byrne would say.
Look, I'd have to agree with you as well. I'm giving it a 6.5 as well. So right in there with the waning gibbous. Basically, because I enjoyed issue 19 a lot more. I don't know. It had a lot more of a kind of a movie. Not to gauge that as being a good comic book, but it was just a lot more actually. It flowed a bit better. This was the finale.
I enjoyed 18 more as well.
18, okay.
Actually.
Oh, the Slayers Elite? Was that the...
Yeah.
Oh, that was...
Slayers
I
Elite.
enjoyed that more as well, yeah, too. I think only 17 and 20 probably were... I didn't enjoy as much. But, I mean...
Yep, agreed.
Having said that, the last third of this issue I really enjoyed a lot because a lot of action.
Me too.
And Moon Knight looked really good in it. Sienkiewicz, he does his good stuff. I mean, to go on what you're saying with the art as well, I'm sure Sienkiewicz has done a lot better stuff in some other issues as well. But by no means is this like, terrible or anything like that. It's just that what we know of Bill...
It's still great artwork.
It's
just... For his work, it's like a little less than normal.
Exactly. So, similar to you, I'd give the whole arc itself, I'd give it about 7, maybe 7.5. But this issue itself will be a 6.5. Not too high in that sense. But anyway, Loonies, have a read of this issue. Let us know what you think as well. I hadn't put this up for discussion, Noel. I always forget to do so. I will try to be more. But anyway, I'll put something up now. So listeners, if you want to add in your thoughts on this issue, I can always read it out next episode. But very keen to hear what you think of this issue 20. It's a classic run. One of the greatest Moon Knight runs of all time. Doug Moench run. So
yeah.
The greatest,
in my opinion.
Well, Noel, I think that will wrap us up for this episode. Thank you so much for jumping on.
Of course.
Next phase, Loonies. Look, I'm going to try 232. I'm going to try to sneak in a serial adventure episode. There's a lot of editing to do there. I've got everyone's vocals in it, so cannot wait.
Great.
So I'll try to do that for our episode 232 before we jump back onto our regular moon phases and segments of the shows. As always, patreon.com/ITK Moon Knight. Please check out our incentives there and consider joining. It'll be very much appreciated. Our sponsors, Fringe Knight. Check out Daniel's patreon.com/Fringe Knight 27 to help out his comic book and his creation. And Tombs, if you can support Drew Tombs at soundcloud.com/Tombs, TOMBZ, and or his Lurk Music on Bandcamp. That's Lurk Music with a ck.bandcamp.com. Go check out his music there and support any of his tracks there as well. Finally, Dreamland Comics as well. Use the code MOON to get 20% off any of their back issues that you may be looking for. Finally, we are part of the collective as well. So we've got stuff in there, just like-minded podcasters as well. Like there's the Fantasy Comic League podcast, which has been reactivated by Brian Bradley over there.
Great.
Very fun. Talking all about scoring your comic book characters, and they've got a competition there where you can win yourself a trade. Dread or Dead by David Finn of Signal or Doom. It's his spin-off.
He's a big Judge Dredd fan.
Yeah. So
he sure is,
huge.
Which makes me happy. So am I.
So go check out that. Or, of course, Al doing great work at Resurrections, the Thanos and Adam Warlock podcast. Finally, you can contact us, email us at feedback@itkmoonlight.com. We've got a website, itkmoonlight.com, as well as being on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, Discord, Get Vocal, and Podchaser. And, of course, if you can leave us a review on Podchaser or Apple Podcasts, that would be great, because then we can get to maybe reach out to more loonies out there who would want to hear geeks like us talk about Moon Knight and everything else.
Fucking nerds.
Anyway, Noel, a huge thank you again, my good man.
Hell yeah, thank you for having me on. I would like to be back on very, very soon.
Yeah, come on.
To talk about anything.
Yes. Oh, I definitely have you.
Any old thing.
Yeah.
We should just start having a podcast that's just Ray and Noel's chat. And we'll just discuss whatever's on our mind, It'll be a huge hit.
I've asked Justin the Owl as well, if you're up for recording some bonus episodes, for the Patroonies. I mean, if they're happy to just listen to us chat happy to shoot the breeze.
Oh, especially if Justin and I can do impersonations of each other, that would be fantastic.
A little shout out, Justin. I want to hear your impersonation of Noel, Loony Toonz Tate. Can you please? Hopefully, when we get Justin back, we can. Because we've heard Noel's, so
yeah. I've been meaning to contact those guys too. I would love to get on Tombs of Evil. I know they've got their whole thing very planned out now. They're very regimented of what they're going to be covering. But a while ago, I talked to Russell about wanting to do Kegel Face from the Sex Criminals comics as a villain, which is would be really funny to me. Just another character that can freeze time by having orgasms. So it's pretty funny.
I reckon that'll be great listening. Anyway, listeners, thank you so much for joining us, and as always, may Conchu watch over the denizens of the night. Catch you later.
Moon Knight and affiliated characters, stories and events are properties of Marvel Characters Incorporated. Materials used and discussed within the podcast are intended for critique and review purposes only under the fair dealing concept of the current Copyright Act. The views, information or opinions expressed during the podcast are solely those of the individuals involved and do not necessarily represent those of the copyright owners.